Are you the only practicing Catholic in your family or friend group?
Yes, or in my family, not my friend group.
What do they think about you actively participating in church community?
My family thinks it's good, and my friends all do it, so it's a good time. I don't really talk to my family about my faith. My friends share most of the same views, so.
My whole family is actually Catholic, and we go to church every Sunday.
Well, my mother's not Catholic. She's actually Episcopalian, but my father grew up in a Catholic family. Everybody in his family, and basically in his entire growing up, his grandparents, his aunts, uncles, they've all grown up Catholic. So when I was really young, I really was not growing up with any certain religion. But when time for my first Holy Communion came around, my parents decided it would be best for me to grow up Catholic.
I go to Catholic school, and my whole family goes to church every Sunday.
Half of my family is Catholic, while my dad is a Muslim, and he doesn't really practice it that much, so it doesn't really affect our decision. But my mother's a strong Catholic. She comes from a strong Catholic Irish family, so it's always been easy for us to follow the Catholic faith.
I have some friends who they're the only one who go to church in their whole family.
Do you think that that is a difficult position to be in?
Yeah, because you don't have support from your family, and so you have to go to your friends for support.
It is a difficult position for those people because then they can't share their faith with the other people in their family.
I can understand if you have family members who aren't Catholic and want to enforce their religion on you.
You know, if your family doesn't support you, it's kind of like just leaping a huge obstacle. It's really, really hard.
Not if they're involved with church activities, because there's always people there to talk to them.
It's a little more difficult. It gets easier as you get a little bit older because you get more independent, so you can do stuff on your own, but it's difficult when you're younger.
Being the only practicing Catholic in your family or group of friends is like swimming against the tide.
It requires a strong faith for teenagers to pray, to go to church by themselves, and to keep the other disciplines that we embrace as Catholics.
I can only imagine what it's like since everyone in my family is Catholic, and I attend a Catholic school too.
Yeah, so do I. I know what you mean.
While it isn't common to be the only practicing Catholic in your family,
it isn't as unusual to be the only practicing Catholic in your group of friends.
That's what we'll be talking about today. What it's like to be the only practicing Catholic in your family or group of friends. Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
And I'm Catherine.
And this is Realfaith TV. Only one of the teens on the street we talked to had the personal experience of being the only practicing Catholic in their family.
We will hear from the teens on the street again and find out what is most important about their Catholic faith, and also talk to our studio guests about their experiences.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Brian.
Brian is not only the only practicing Catholic in his family.
Most of his friends outside of his youth group are non-Catholic.
Next, Brian tells us about his experience.
I define practicing as a person who is strong in his or her faith, goes to church often, once a week at least, speaks about his faith with other people, is spiritual and religious. So when you say, am I the only practicing Catholic? Yes, in my family and pretty much my friend group, I am the only practicing Catholic. It's kind of really a very interesting situation for me because both my parents were raised Catholic, but they're not very involved anymore. They're not practicing. And my brother as well, and he's a kind of type that after confirmation, I'm done. My parents were never really religious, but they felt the need to raise my brother and I up in the Catholic Church for the sake of we being able to be active in it if we wanted to later, such as after confirmation. If marriage ever came up in the future, and they want us to have that backing with the church. But at the same time, they took the position that, we're going to work with you until, you get up through CCD, and then 8th grade comes, confirmation comes, you're considered an adult in the church. So after that, we're going to let you make your own decisions and you're on your own, kind of. So really up to that, CCD, I was always involved, but I never really felt a connection to it. And I made confirmation, and I joined the youth group at my church right after confirmation. And I guess that's what really got me into it. I was a Catholic. I went through the motions, but I wasn't connected spiritually or really emotionally to it until I made that transition into youth group and made that transition to high school, and then things change and you wonder what's your purpose and why is things the way they are, and and I realize that faith is a good thing to have.
I think it's great that Brian decided he wanted to practice his faith and took an initiative to be an active member of his church community.
I know, it's pretty incredible. Let's find out if our studio guests have had any similar experiences.
Let's meet them. They are Anthony, Matt, Lauren, Jessica, and Caitlin.
So, are any of you guys the only practicing Catholics in your family?
Well, my dad's side of the family is Protestant, and when he married my mom, he converted to Catholicism.
I know, like in my family, we're pretty much all Catholic, your average Irish Catholic family and everything, so.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that all of us here are from pretty much Catholic families.
All, Catholic family.
Yeah,
we're lucky too.
Well, what about your friends? Are you the only practicing Catholic in your group?
No, I mean, I actually have more, even though I have more Catholic friends than the non-practicing Catholic friends, I mean, there's different groups of friends. I have one that doesn't practice and one that does practice, and I'm like, it's not that I don't feel left out in the one that don't practice, it's just like, okay, I'm kind of my own little group inside a group, you know?
Yeah, well, for me, outside youth group, most of my friends are either non-practicing Catholics or a different religion, and sometimes they don't understand like why I can't go see a movie on Good Friday or why I can't go to like the beach on Sunday mornings. But some of them also, I think, are kind of envious of like me and my youth group because we're really close, and we meet like every Sunday night where we convent and we do so many community service things. So I think they're kind of envious that they don't have that same foundation.
Yeah, I know. I'm really close in my youth group too. Like, I'd say most of my closest friends are from youth group and everything. So I definitely say that, going to Catholic school and everything, most of my friends are practicing Catholics.
Yeah, mine too, definitely. Most of them are just, well, I'm not so sure that they're all practicing, but they consider themselves Catholic for the most part.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar situation. Like, my friends don't practice and they kind of take their religion as a joke and they don't take it seriously. So, sometimes when I want to talk to them about certain aspects of the religion, I'll be like, I'll have to hold back because I don't want to feel belittled.
You may be reluctant to talk with non-Catholics or with non-practicing Catholics about your faith.
You may know people who have fallen away from the church because they have different religious beliefs or are indifferent to religion altogether.
You might also feel that you wouldn't know what to say or you'd be forcing your religion on someone.
Some people have the wrong idea of what Catholics believe.
The prophet Jeremiah felt the same way when God called him.
In Jeremiah chapter 1, Jeremiah said, "Ah, Lord God, I know not how to speak. I am too young."
God's reply to Jeremiah was, "Say not, I am too young. To whoever I send you, you shall go.
Whatever I command you, you shall speak.
Have no fear before them, because I am with you."
Brian has been mocked because he is a Catholic, but he still shares his faith when he can with his non-Catholic friends.
Next, he talks about a few friends who do support him when others put him down for his faith.
I have been mocked once in a while, and it comes from the same people I'd call my friends. My atheist friend, I have quite a few of them, but one of them said, well, Brian wasn't here yesterday, so Jenny is the next most ignorant person at the table. I have been mocked, and I just kind of take it as, okay, just another occurrence in life and something to just get over, and it's no big deal. I do have a friend, she is Catholic, and we do talk once in a while about our faith. She supports me when it comes to faith, and I support her. She's kind of backed me up in different discussions about faith where there were a bunch of people who were arguing against me, and I've supported her in her hard times with her family and things like that. I have another very religious Christian friend. He's not Catholic, but he was baptized Catholic, and he's come to Mass once in a while, and he's kind of torn between Catholicism and the Protestant faith that he was changed into. But he said to me one day, he said, I give you a lot of credit for sitting with them. And I said, what do you mean, sit with who? I mean, they're all good people. And they're like sitting with, all those non-Christians. And it said, they must really, question your faith. You must get a lot of bull crap from them, And I said, I do, but they're my friends and we all have flaws, and I'm not going to just give up on them because they happen to be differing opinion. Instead, I'm going to stick with them and, get the Word of God in there when I can and be their friends.
That's pretty brave of Brian to stick with his friends, even though they're mocking him and everything. It's takes a lot of courage to stand up like that.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree. I know it's always hard for me when my friends don't necessarily believe the same things I do, just because then you have to explain yourself more. Can you relate to anything that he said?
Well, I know it's especially hard to stand up to your friends rather than someone you don't like. And I mean, because they're your friends and you really don't want to offend them, even though they offend you before. You don't want to make two wrongs that don't make a right.
You kind of sometimes, a lot of your friends, a lot of the times they really don't mean what they say, because I have a friend, he's been my friend for years, and he doesn't mean a lot of the things he says. You have to take, what he says with a grain of salt, and, he's a lot of the times just kidding.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Matt here when he said, yeah, it's a lot harder to stand up to your friends than it is to because you want your friends to see you as a cool person and everything. So, and I mean, sometimes standing up for your faith they can mock you for that and everything.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even not having your family agree with the same beliefs you do, that has to be impossible.
Yeah, I can relate with that because on my dad's side of the family, they're Protestant, so they believe different things. So it's kind of hard to talk to them about my faith. But, we try to talk and relate to each other.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that because my family's where I go to when I'm having faith problems or whatever. So
yeah, me too.
It must be pretty hard.
I can't even relate to the idea of the rest of my family not practicing my faith like Brian. I'd probably feel really alone.
I guess if you look at it in another way, at least Brian's family doesn't discourage him from practicing his faith.
Yeah, that's true. Next, Brian tells us a little more of his story and how he came to be the only practicing Catholic in his family.
My parents have been wonderful parents. I mean, the best parents I could ever ask for. My brother's a great person. It's just when it comes to faith and religion, they are lacking. And that's a real upsetting thing for me. It's a struggle for me. And that's the biggest struggle for me, is knowing that my family is comprised of such great people, that the fact that they're really depriving themselves of such great things. Knowing that they just don't have the kind of things I have, the church community and the good things that you and I know come from faith. And that's a sad thing. But there are struggles why aren't you doing the typical things, why aren't there's a party Friday night, not that my parents encourage me to go to parties, but they don't want me to be completely cut off from the world. And some things I choose not to engage in for what seem like the littlest of reasons, oh well, this person's there and they've done something that I don't agree with, so I don't want to really engage with them right now. It's oh, come on, just go. You're being too self-righteous. You're being too, and you run into those same kind of problems too. But my parents, no one in my family has ever kept me from going to church, has ever tried to hinder my faith in any way. So it's not like they're trying to intervene to keep me from anything, because they're not. Before I had my license, before I had my ability to get to church on my own, my father, who's not religious, would drive me to church. He'd sit there and sometimes doze off when, there was a boring sermon or whatnot. But, he would bring me for the sake of, he respected the fact that I wanted to practice, and that was that. So they do respect my faith. It just, I struggle sometimes when I see what they don't have and what they can and should have.
I wonder how many other Catholic families are struggling with the fact that family members are not practicing Catholics.
Yeah, but I bet a lot more parents are struggling with their teenagers rather than teenagers struggling with their non-practicing parents.
Yeah. So do any of you guys struggle with the fact that your friends or family members are not practicing Catholics?
Well, it's really not that much of an issue for me. I have my faith, my friends have theirs, but I can only imagine what it's like for other people who have immediate family members who have clashing ideas about their religion. I just think that's got to be just really hard.
It really doesn't bother me that my friends are they're not practicing, because I mean they could do what they want. It doesn't affect me in that many ways. Unless they make fun of me or something like that, I can just retaliate with something. You know? So, but I mean, it really doesn't bother me because they could do what they want. I could do what I want. I practice. They don't practice. It's no big deal.
Right, but at times it could be a struggle because faith's such a big part of me. But then when they don't understand, I feel like they don't understand like a part of me, and that kind of hurts.
Yeah, like I can definitely agree with you because I have some friends who are Catholic and Jewish, like both of their parents, and they haven't chosen a religion. But like I think that they would understand my views on Catholicism better if they had chosen a religion.
I don't think it totally bothers me. I think it might, like, on a subconscious level that my friends aren't, as into the religion as I am. But I know it must be really hard for my one friend. Her parents, like, one is Catholic and one is Jewish, and I know she just made her confirmation this year, and there was a lot of drama going on. So that must have been really hard for her.
What about not attending a certain party because you thought the things that were going on there might not be in line with what you believe?
Oh, don't even get me started on that. For some reason, there's these group of kids at my school who took me for a pothead the instant they saw me. So now it's like every weekend I'm getting like phone calls, hey Jared, come on, you want to come down, go to Red Bank something? And I always have to say like, no guys, like they're fun to hang out with, but it's just when I know that they're going to be doing stuff like that I have to be like, yeah, I got to go somewhere. I got to go family stuff.
Yeah.
So does anyone else like have similar experiences?
Well, I know I went to my friend's party. It was his confirmation party, and it was kind of thrown together at the last second. And they were doing certain things like out back behind where the party was, behind the hall. And they're like party games that I wasn't totally, gonna do. So I'd be like, they kept like trying to come get me to come out, and I'd be like, no, that's okay. And like I would call up my friend and be talking to her, and I'm like, I really don't want to be here. But like I couldn't leave because he was like my good friend. And so I'm talking to her, and they come up to me, I'm like, oh no, wait, I'm talking to my mom, please hang on. And actually at one point there was a point where I called my mom because I was like so desperate just not to be like involved with what they were doing. And I definitely learned, I had to learn some things. And
yeah, there's been times where I like almost went to parties where I knew stuff was going on, and then I kind of like, I would get these bad feelings, like I knew I just shouldn't go, like something was gonna happen, like these morbid kind of senses, and then I just would stay home and do something.
Yeah.
Other than that.
I always look at who's going, so I know like, certain people I know not to go to the party. It takes a very strong person or teenager to stand up for your faith and admit that you're not only a Catholic, but a practicing Catholic as well.
You really need to be grounded in your faith and make it important in your life.
So what makes you strong in your faith, and what is most important to you about your faith?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
What is important to you about your Catholic faith?
God.
Everything. The people I meet, just being in touch with Christ, just having him in my life, I couldn't live any other way.
Just believing in God and believing that he's there for us.
Just having a relationship with God.
I think it's important to pray a lot because I love God.
To always stay true to God and not lose sight of what he's brought to me.
Basically preparing myself as I get older to continue in the Christian faith.
I always have God to turn to. I always have that to fall back on.
So what's most important to you about your Catholic faith?
I definitely feel like, my faith is something that'll always be there. No matter what's changing in my life, I can always trust in God. It's kind of like those trust games you play at camp, when you're playing, like say you're playing with your life, and like you always have to look back to make sure they're there. But then like with God, you can always just lean back and know he'll catch you.
Yeah, like a trust fall.
Yeah.
I know my favorite thing about being a Catholic is the sense of community that comes with it. Like I know I can go to church on Sundays and I'll see all these familiar faces that I grew up just being around, and not only the actual people that go to church with me, but I guess on the broader scale, like knowing we have a pope and knowing that there's people all over the world who believe the same things that I do.
I know with me, the thing I like about my faith is that no matter what happens, no matter what changes in my life, I'm always going to have my faith. I can go to God with anything. God's always going to be there for me. And I like that he's like my foundation and everything. So it's kind of like, if the whole house could fall down, but the foundation is still going to be there, So I'm always going to have my faith. It's like the one constant.
Yeah, I like the fact that we can just go to Mass and pray and reflect on our week and then just ask Him to guide us for the week ahead.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it can be kind of hard to get up in the morning and actually go to church, but once you leave, it's just like, I needed that, and you go back to your daily tasks.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jack about the foundation. Like, it's so nice to have something to believe in, because so many people in this world are so lost because they don't have anything. But with God, you know, you'll never be lost.
I think it's like a great feeling. Just like, you know, it's like God's always like in your heart. He's kind of like guiding you and telling you like not what to do, but like how to do it right, you know?
Definitely. I really like what you said about going to church and feeling like, oh, I really needed that.
It's like a big relief after.
My energy for the rest of the week just to deal with the things.
Recharges your batteries.
Yeah, definitely.
Your religious battery.
So what are we to do when we find ourselves the only practicing Catholic in our group?
Next, Brian gives us some advice on this and talks about where he finds the encouragement when he feels alone practicing his faith.
That's how really I would have to say teens have to be when it comes to their faith, especially in this world now, is that, you know, you got to really just not worry about what other people think all the time. Yeah, they said something, yeah, you may not liked it, might not have been true, but just let it go. And on a much bigger scale, you have to do the same thing with your faith. I mean, it hasn't been easy, and it's easier to say than do to tell somebody, to stand up to societal trends and what people are saying and peer pressure and things like that, which is required when you have strong faith. But it took me a while, and now that I'm able to say, you know what, I'm Catholic, I'm like this, I'm like that, you don't like it, well, that's too bad, I'm the way I am. If you're involved with your church, you have a faith family to fall back on, to go to for help. You have, your prayer life. It's just good to know that there's a higher purpose to life, and there's a bigger meaning to things, and there's somebody that cares and loves you and is watching over you. I get most encouragement when I go to church because I find myself beginning of the week, sometimes Monday, usually middle of the week, saying, when's the weekend going to come? I want to go to church. I need to go to church. And that really lifts me up a lot. Seeing other people who are active in their faith and strong in their faith, and being able to do the things that we do at church with the readings and the singing. And it's really a positive, uplifting environment. And the other major place, which I've touched on, is youth group, because it not only enables myself and its members to do community service things and interact with other people on a positive level, but it allows us to be with each other and grow with each other in faith.
If you're a practicing Catholic, then you need to share your faith some way.
Yeah, it kind of goes with the job description.
Go and tell all nations.
So where have you found encouragement and support for your faith journey?
And what advice would you have for teenagers who feel alone in their journey, whether it be their family or their group of friends?
I can definitely agree with Brian when he says youth group is a big support system, because you're hanging out with people who have the same beliefs as you. And my advice to teenagers who are struggling is just join a group like that and talk to the kids, and I think that would definitely help them find their beliefs.
I think that family is a big thing that makes you really believe more, because it's like they're sort of backing you up. If they are practicing Catholics, then they show you. It's like, wow, I guess I'm not the only one here,
I know with me, my youth group, I love my youth group. It's amazing. Like, we have so much fun, and it's a chance to share your faith, and not only your faith, but any problems you might be going through, kind of just vent every Sunday. And I really like that, and I really like the way all the people are nice and everything. There's no bad seeds and everything. It's just a good place to go and share your faith and everything, and realize that there are other people, other teenagers out there who are like you and everything. So,
right, like Kaylin said, getting involved is probably the best thing you could do.
Yeah, I know I've been looking to get involved in a youth group because I don't really know too much about the one at my church, but I know that I'm not struggling with my faith in any way, but I know that if I had a place to go with more people who just felt the same way that I do, it could be more encouraging. Like, you know, when you go to church on Sunday, you probably go with your family, but what if you could go with a group of friends? Wouldn't that make it a little bit more exciting? I mean, I love going to church, but I think if I had a group to go with, like maybe a youth group could come to a mass, wouldn't that be like a highlight of your weekend or something? Like a big social event, just make it better.
Yeah, well, I know my encouragement kind of comes from the people you see who are kind of like down on their luck or have everything going against them, you know, because I feel once I see that, you know, I realize how good I have it and realize if I stay with my faith, then I can help other people in the process of staying with it. So that's kind of where my encouragement comes from. It's kind of like a subliminal type thing.
I have to say that my advice to someone struggling would be, since I haven't had a youth group, I read the Bible a lot and just praying, because if I'm ever having a bad day, I'll just flip open to a random page of the Bible and read it, and I can always find encouragement in what I find.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, definitely, I say, like, seek out help if you're struggling and everything, you know, because whether it be peers who are practicing Catholics or your minister or something, because definitely people who have the same faith as you can help you, you know, stay that way.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone needs to feel like they belong.
The groups you belong to can help you define your identity.
For Catholics, it is important to be part of a local parish.
We believe that when we are baptized in Christ, we enter into a family relationship with other baptized members of the Church.
St. Paul expresses this another way in 1 Corinthians chapter 12.
He writes, "Now you are Christ's body."
And individually parts of it.
Are you the only practicing Catholic in your family or group of friends?
We want to know.
Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we leave you with this final thought. The members of the early church often felt isolated and alone in their faith.
It was a dangerous time to profess belief in Christ.
They found encouragement in Scripture.
And in remembering Jesus in the Eucharist and in praying together.
So find that community that supports you.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.